As your friend, I know how much time and energy you put into working on yourself.
Man.
What is the difference between motivation and discipline? Because I find that a lot of the time people think like, oh, I'm so motivated by that, or I'm so inspired by that. But what you just explained is far more of a dedicated discipline to the self-work, the inner work. Talk to me about the difference between those two and where do we find them?
Mm-hmm. I think motivation is for people that don't have a meaningful mission. Discipline is for people that are clear on their identity of who they want to become and the mission that they have that is meaningful for them, not only for them, but for those around them. And you know, when I was growing up, I wanted to be successful. That was kind of the goal and the mindset is how can I become successful? How can I accomplish my goals as an athlete? How can I be a pro athlete? How can I make money? How can I get, awards and all these different things? For whatever reason, that's what I thought of is I wanted to be successful. When I turned 30 and started realizing how big of an ego I actually had and how selfish I actually was in life. And I was a fun-loving guy, but my intentions were more for me to look good, for me to win, for me to be successful, for me. And this is one of the reasons why I love you so much, because your mission is about service. I started to realize at 30 that success was selfish and greatness was really about service, right? Greatness was not about just me. It was about having an intention of a dream that I might have, but including others in the dream. Where success is more about accomplishing goals and dreams for just you and not as much thinking about others. Maybe others are included, but the intention is really like, how do I look good? How do I get this award and make this money and get this credibility? And that's why 10 years ago, I said, I have to completely shift my identity. And it was an unwinding of like 30 years of programming. So I had to shift the identity from, okay, and I love that you always talk about collaboration over competition. I was all competition, right? And there's healthy competition in like sports and things like that. But in the game of life, we've got to be collaborators. We've got to be thinking about we instead of me if we want to go far. If we want to go fast, that quote, you can. What is the quote? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, something like that.
That's it, yeah.
And if you want to go fast, you can do it on your own quickly, but it won't take you far and you typically burn out. Motivation, I believe, is for people that want only success. But discipline is when you shift your identity based on a meaningful mission. That's why I start the book with meaningful mission, because all the great people that we've interviewed who have health, happiness, and are healed, I think that's greatness. They have a meaningful mission that's beyond them. Mm-hmm. They have something more, and that is an identity that has non-negotiables, where they're able to be disciplined because it's something bigger than them. Mm-hmm. Whereas success by itself needs constant motivation, right?
I love that you just shifted that desire of like selfish goals or like self-based goals to service. And you're saying you learned it at 30, or that's when you realized that after being successful to some degree that you'd achieved then.
Externally successful, internally suffering.
Yeah, wow.
And no one wants to suffer. No one. Yeah. It's interesting. I was just interviewing a guy before this today, and I said on a scale of 1 to 10 of your inner peace and self-love scale, 10 being you love yourself, you have a lot of inner peace, 1 being you hate yourself, no love. Where are you? He said, I'm a 5.
Wow.
And I said, and this is a guy with a massive company, extremely fit, shredded, like people around him, but internally a 5. And it goes back to what you talked about. I love the intro, which is a happy, healthy, and healed.
Yeah.
Healing, which is, I said, why do you think you're a 5? And he said, I haven't dealt with the inner stuff. I've dealt with the mental side of discipline and structure and organization and working hard and grinding. But the emotional side of healing your heart, I believe, is the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how shredded you are, how wealthy you are, how successful you are, how many cars you have. If your inner emotional state is suffering, you are losing. And when your inner emotional state is at peace and focused on service, it doesn't have to be changing the world, but service to the people in your life, that's when you are successful.
a lot of people though will say, well, Lewis, I don't have anything to serve with. So shouldn't I want success first and then I'll find service because I don't have my meaningful mission. I don't have any money. I don't have access. I don't have a platform. Shouldn't I aim to get a platform first and then serve through it? How do you think about that? And
I mean, you served for many years before you got your platform, you know, and then you built your platform after really kind of figuring out who you were, your identity after leaving the monkhood, right? You started to figure out what did you want. And I think there's a period of time, a season of life where we have to try a lot of different things and figure out what do we really love? What are our passions? Where our talents lie in with our power? And then what is the problem we're looking to solve? So it's the 3 Ps. And you can ask yourself,
so the 3 Ps are passion,
the power that you have,
right,
and the problem you're looking to solve.
I love that.
So I give a lot of prompts and questions in the book around the 3 Ps where you kind of figure out your sweet spot of what could I be doing? So the passions are, and a lot of people say, I've heard a lot of people say, don't follow your passion. I don't agree with that. I think you should be thinking about what are you most curious about? What excites you? Whenever I ask people, what are you most excited about in your life right now? You mostly see people like look up in the sky and they take a deep breath and they get really excited and they're emotional about it. They're like joyful about it. You want to lean into that feeling and do those things and be in that playground of experiences. Yeah. So I think you really want to be thinking about what is the things that I am most passionate about. And maybe it doesn't mean for a 2 to 4 year window of life, you're going to be able to work on it, but you can still be working towards it. So figuring out what interests you, what would you do if money was no object? What would you just love to wake up and do in general, and what excites you? Mm-hmm. Think about that. The second thing is, you know, when I was starting out, I didn't feel like I had any talents. So I can relate to a lot of people. When you left the monkhood, you were like, well, what is this transferable skill in the workforce?
That's literally how I felt. Yeah.
And you said you got rejected by like 100 companies or something.
Yeah,
when
40,
you were like,
yeah,
40 companies.
Yeah, 40 companies, yeah.
And it's like, I didn't think I had transferable skills. You didn't think you had. A lot of people probably don't think that way. And most people, when they finish university or college, they don't use that degree 5 to 10 years later. They're moving on to different things eventually, right? So even if you got a degree in something, you probably won't use it in 5 to 10 years fully in that area. And so I think you got to figure out what are how do I describe it? Kind of like invisible assets, right? The invisible assets that you have acquired throughout your entire life that maybe you're not even aware of. Mm-hmm. For me, an invisible asset was curiosity. It's not like I have this tangible currency that I can like use to build an opportunity in my life, but it was an invisible currency, an invisible asset. I was so curious about other people. Another invisible asset, I was a pretty joyful human being. And anytime I entered a room and everyone was always older than me and more talented and more successful, I just said, I'm going to bring so much joy and curiosity. That doesn't seem like a transferable skill. Yeah. People would be like, they just wanted to help me. And I was this 24-year-old punk that was just like entering these networking events and these social media conferences and these rooms around all these kind of thought leaders and really people that I was like, wow, they're like successful mentors of mine. And they're always like, hey, Lewis, why don't you come join us for dinner? Hey, that's pretty cool you're doing this. Let me help you here. And I brought curiosity and joy. I never talked about myself. I would just ask questions that I was fascinated by. And people loved to share these stories about themselves. That was a currency. That was an invisible asset that I brought to the table. So you got to think about what are the powers that you have that maybe you don't think you have. And also, I'm a big fan of figuring out where you are most powerless and creating a list of all your fears. I call it the fear list.
Yeah, I want to get into that.
Yes, this is the place where you feel the most powerless. Yeah. So for me at the time, I felt like my biggest fears and where I felt most powerless was standing in front of a room of peers. I could not stand up and speak in front of 5 people without stuttering, stumbling, sweating, and just forgetting everything that I wanted to say. So I always felt insecure when I had to stand up and present in front of people. And I always felt like, man, I'm just messing up and people are laughing at me and I'm not good enough. I'm not as smart as everyone else. I'm not as good as presenter as everyone else. So I had this incredible crippling fear. And yet I knew one day I wanted to be able to impact people in some way, whether it was a career or something else. And so I found a mentor who was a professional speaker. I found a mentor with a model that I wanted to mimic. He was a professional speaker, and he said, you gotta overcome this fear. A way to do that is go to Toastmasters, a professional speaking class that you can go to. And he told me exactly what to do. I want you to go every week for a whole year. It's gonna suck the first few months. You're not gonna feel good. You're not gonna like it. It's gonna be embarrassing, and you're not gonna feel good about yourself. But I'm telling you, if you do this every week for a year, you will create unbelievable things in your life. And it was true. Never in my wildest dreams would I think I get paid what I get paid to speak publicly now. So what was once something that made me feel so powerless, I made it a superpower. But the only way I could do that was finding someone or some model or mentor to give me some guidance or that I could mimic, and then taking action on the fear over and over again until I embraced it and became the Batman of public speaking. Until you can sit there peacefully, for me, on a stage in front of an audience. Yeah. And that took years.
Yes, yeah.
You want to develop more superpowers in your tool belt. You want to lean into that. And I had a ton of fears and a lot of insecurities. So it took me many years to start practicing on this and overcoming it. And I still get to step in more of them. The work never ends.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing. You figure out what you're interested in, your passions, your powers, and overcoming your fears to make them superpowers. And the third one is figuring out what problem do you want to solve. This is something you talk about so much. And one of the reasons why I love your work, Jay, is because you're always asking people to think differently. You don't have to be the one who's the entrepreneur or creating the thing. There are so many great causes, teams, businesses, and companies that have missions that you can be a great team player and use your passion and your power to support that problem. And I think that's what you got to be looking for. And it may not always come to you, in your 20s, early 30s. It may evolve. There are different seasons of life that you can use these passions and powers to solve problems. So you don't have to have it all figured out at 25 or 31. Yeah. Just like give yourself a break and keep enjoying life along the way.
How long is a season? How long? How much time do you think?
There's different types of seasons, and I look at it as sports. Yeah. In sports, in a year,
you're an athlete.
In a year, there's 4 seasons in the year of fall, summer, spring, winter. In sports, there is a preseason, a season, postseason, and the playoffs, right? There's kind of these 4 seasonal moments. And there's always time to reflect on, okay, I did this thing for 9 months or a year. Do I still want to keep doing this thing, right? Take time to reflect. You take a month off every year to reflect. What worked?
Just came back from it.
You just came back.
It was amazing.
And you look relaxed.
It was amazing.
Sometimes we're so in it all the time that we don't have the moment to reflect on, am I still excited about this? Mm-hmm. Is this still what I want to do? Do I feel like there's a new season coming for me? Like, am I shedding something and stepping into something that I'm ready for now?